Oh, here we go. So thank you so much for being here with me today. Um, I just have a couple of questions for you regarding human resource or personnel, the district personnel. I guess our first one would be, what does the planning and the recruitment look like for hiring in CSISD?
Yeah, so we have a couple of avenues that we typically go with. We do attend job fairs with A&M University, with Sam Houston State University. There's a couple others that we try to attend. We may attend like a job fair on for other organizations that reach out to us. For our auxiliary employees, we actually host our own job fairs here with College Station ISD. We typically have one in around January and then one in July, like before the upcoming school year. So other than that, we have our job postings that are always online. We try to keep some. For example, SPED is a very hard position to fill at this time, so we
Oh
keep
yeah.
that just open on the website at all times because we
Okay.
always need teachers.
Okay.
And we do
So,
try to include principals when we go to like job fairs at for universities, because who knows what they need best at their campus is the principals. So we like to include that, and then we also include our team members because they're the ones going to be working with those new teachers coming into the district.
so okay. So you okay. Sorry, still writing here.
That was a lot. Yeah,
Okay.
no, sorry.
No. Thank you. Okay, so let's say after we have the recruitment thereof, okay, what does the selection process look like? I mean, clearly, as a person who's, I guess, gone through the selection process of submitting my resume, what does that look like? I guess on the district level, my principals kind of showed me on the campus level, but district, what does that more look like?
So if we take it back, like we're at a job fair at Texas A&M University, obviously we're not going to be able to host all of the principals because everybody's busy. But what we would do is we would take those resumes and we kind of bulk them, like gen ed, anybody that's going to be certified in SPED or bilingual. And what we would typically do is send those out to principals that are looking for candidates for specific positions. And then after that, those principals, the process from there, they would review those resumes, bring in their team, interview, and then have a selection process there. With our auxiliary job fairs that we actually host in district, we will invite the director or the supervisors from custodial, the director and her team from child nutrition, and the supervisor from grounds and transportation and so on. And we actually bring them into those job fairs, and those folks that come in will actually be able to fill out an application with the help from our staff, because a lot of times they'll need some help. Maybe they're not tech savvy or don't understand a question, and they can actually interview on site and get hired, or they could maybe possibly get called in for a second interview after that first initial. And so that is like super beneficial to those departments.
Okay, sorry, you're hearing the beeping noise. Our
I don't
fire
hear
drill's
it.
going
Well,
through.
I have my heater on too, so maybe.
Oh, perfect.
Oh,
Okay, well, no, if you can't hear it, then we're just going to keep going, and
yeah.
I'll apologize and beg for forgiveness with my
No, you
professor
do
later. I
not.
think
No, you're fine.
we all just kind of do what we can. Okay, so that's awesome. So like your head custodian, your head people go there, and does it kind of serve as like a mini job interview there?
Yes, absolutely. So if you can imagine like the boardroom, being open, and each department has their own table, right? So transportation has their table, custodial has their table, and so on. And so those supervisors or directors or lead team members would come in, and those folks would apply. And then we would designate offices, whatever space we can find here, central office, for those folks to interview right then and there. And so, yeah, there's a possibility they'd get hired on the job, or maybe that team decides, like, okay, we're going to take our best top three interviewees and bring them back to, filter down to who we're going to select, depending on how many staff they need. And auxiliary, they typically are always hiring, so
Right.
super
Okay.
beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Spot. Okay. Alrighty. So after the selection, I know in College Station we used to have that new teacher orientation or new teacher university. What is like our induction kind of thing and kind of gives us the ropes of College Station ISD. So
Yes.
what do we do now? It's been a hot minute, about 12 years since I was a brand new baby teacher.
Yeah, so
What
probably very different. Yeah.
what does
Um,
it look like now?
okay. So from the start, those candidates will be recommended for hire. Our department approves those hires, and then our staff brings them in. Depending on, we have different specialists for different roles, right? We have a specialist by the name of Laura Harris. She onboards all of our professional hires, directors, principals, assistant principals, teachers, ICs. The list goes on. Then we have somebody for temps, and then we have somebody for all of our para jobs and auxiliary. But if we'll just kind of focus on the professional side of it. So new teachers, we have something called, it used to be NTU, you probably remember that, New Teacher University. Now it's Spark, and that is put on and hosted by the CNI department. So after the onboarding happens in HR, we kind of let them know, like, obviously we need all of their documents to get on board. And then we're saying, hey, CNI will be reaching out to you. You will be attending something called Spark, which is now in place of the New Teacher University. And that's where they kind of get to know, like, the district, the culture of the district, expectations, maybe lots of acronyms. I mean,
Yes.
it's kind of just like an introduction to what CSIC is. And then after that, I think it's about 3 days for new teachers, and then they get to break off into their campuses and start their professional development there at their campus, and just move forward from there. And they have a ton of support. Instructional coaches. There's department heads. There's
Right.
mentor teachers for new teachers. So yeah, does that answer
Oh
your
yeah, no,
question?
absolutely.
Okay.
Is there any for campus wide? So I'm kind of thinking like with a principal hat on for a campus, is there any specific like you have to have a mentor teacher for brand new teachers? I know I'm alt cert, so the only reason I'm thinking through this is I had to have a mentor teacher since I was alt cert. I was on a probationary
Yes.
period. How does that work? What is districts mandates for each school?
So typically new teachers do have a mentor. So Alt-Cert, you were probably on an intern certificate for that first year. So you didn't
Yes.
have a standard certificate, right? So if it's a new teacher to CSIC, but not new to teaching, they probably don't have a mentor. But somebody fresh out an alt program like yourself, like you were back, 12 years ago, then yeah, they definitely have a mentor. And then
Okay.
as always, I mean, there's going to be support. Maybe if, um, even if there is a seasoned teacher that may be struggling or needs some
Right.
assistance,
Okay.
uh, there's ICs there, there's
Okay.
seasoned teachers, as you're science, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And so, are you department head? Or I know there is probably a department head.
I'm not I'm team lead. Wendy Miles is our
Perfect.
department
So
head.
yeah, so you'd be the first person that folks would go to for
Okay.
support. Does
Okay.
that
Okay.
answer your question?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just didn't know if there was
Okay.
something mandated by district saying, hey, you need to make sure you have X person in place, or it's just kind of like an unspoken rule, I guess, if you will.
Well, I think it depends, right? So have you heard of the RISE program?
No, ma'am.
That we just start. Okay, so we just initiated, this is only our second, going into our second year. And so initially RISE is a program that the district started to grow our own. So if you have an amazing paraprofessional that is working in the district, they already know how CSISD works. They already know the ins and outs of like student activities through the day. They're familiar with the campus, the teachers and everything. Well, those folks could actually come in. We actually had the meeting on Monday, an all call saying, hey, this is the RISE program. What we do is we grow them. And so the first year they would become, we call them classroom instructors. And they are actually, what actually happens is we pay for their bachelor's degree.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so they're essentially still a paraprofessional, but we call them an instructor. So they're acting like a teacher, okay, not paid as a teacher, but acting as a teacher. And while they're learning and growing, the district is actually paying for their bachelor's degree. And then once they graduate, and the reason why I'm telling you this is like this would be a specific example of this person needs a mentor, right? So once they graduate with their bachelor's degree, then they're going to go in the alternative prep program like yourself, like you did, and then they're going to get their intern certificate. And when they get their intern certificate, then they are a teacher, and then they have they're going to have a mentor that first year as a teacher, but even now as a instructor, they have a mentor. So that is definitely a standard
Awesome.
like protocol in the district. And with new teachers, new to
Right.
CSIC, first year teachers.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it's really good. We had like 32 people show up Monday that like, yeah, aspiring teachers. So
I
we
love
won't be able
that.
to take them all, but we're gonna try to.
That's awesome. Okay. Okay. I guess then we'll move to, so we get hired. So compensation. So pay. I know a lot of that's based on state. How do we go from there?
Yeah, so for teachers, it's easy because there's a step. And so whenever somebody's hired on, we ask for those service records. Our specialist Laurie combs through those service records and puts that new teacher at the step that they are at, depending on their experience. For professional hires, it is a bit different. We are basing their compensation on their experience. And so one thing I think that is always difficult for folks to understand is if I was a teacher for 20 years and I became a principal, I think it's a misconception that all 20 years of that service is going to be accounted for in the compensation. And that's not necessarily true. That's not true. And so there is a calculation that either myself or Bridget does when we hire professional employees. And so, yeah.
Okay.
There's
And that was,
there's some math that has to
yeah.
be done, but we
Yeah.
have a formula.
Yeah, no. And so, okay, so professionals are based on experience level. Teachers, well, again, they're just based on the steps. So that's just
Yeah.
service, and then like what else goes into play there, I guess. Like
If there's any stipend, so like if there's a
okay,
department head, there's a stipend, right? Or maybe if
okay,
it's a teacher coach, well, they get their teacher salary plus they get the stipend for coach.
okay.
Student council, NHS,
Right,
there's all.
right,
And
right.
then
Okay, I
for
get you.
auxiliary people, they're also like experience.
Okay. Okay, our experience. So everything is pretty much experience based, just has a different starting out point, I guess, if you will.
Yes, different pay grades. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it. All right. And this is just, I guess, more of a question. I've heard other administrators, like from different districts and things like that, talk through like how they negotiated their contract. Is that something that we do here? Is that something that it's like, no, not really? How does that work? Like, what does that look like on your end?
Negotiate their
Like,
contract and
as
pay.
in their pay? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
What does that
okay.
look like?
So I wouldn't say that there's a negotiation that happens, but so what I will say is that whenever we're hiring a professional, we're going to do a count, right? This count
Right.
that I'm telling you. But what we also do is we're going to look at folks that work in the district with same or similar experience doing the same or similar things to make sure it's comparable. Because what we don't ever want to do is bring somebody in like if you're a principal for 10 years and you're making X amount of money, we don't want to bring a principal that has, you know, 8 years or 7 years of experience making more than you. Like we're going to make sure that everything's comparable. So it's not just plugging in the years or experience in the spreadsheet. There's also some not there's also some work that goes in behind. Okay, let me look at this pay grade. What is this person doing? What experience do they have? Now let me look at other folks that have the same experience doing same or similar jobs. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that was
Okay.
just kind of like a wondering that I had as well.
Yeah, I wish I think folks think like negotiating. I think that's more especially for like school districts, I think it's way more difficult to negotiate compensation here with the school district. Now, if we were probably, if we went out to the public sector, or I think it'd be easier to negotiate salaries, but here our budgets
It's
are very
it's our budget is, and it's
our
very
budget
purse
is
string. Yeah. So no,
yeah,
that makes
yeah.
sense. No, it's yeah, you can only do so much. Okay, so next, I guess so with evaluation on each level. So let's go like I mean, I kind of know the teacher evaluation end of things on
Testing.
the school, like principal side, because I'm on that end. But what does that look like then from y'all's perspective? And then also the professional level and and auxiliary level. What does that look like?
Yeah, so for principals, there's TPES. Okay, so they also get evaluated.
Right.
Um, for auxiliary and paraprofessionals, those are just annual evaluations taking place at the campus. There's some templates in Perform or some evaluations in Perform that admin use for
Okay.
those evaluations. For like our staff, we evaluate them once a year. We also have a template in Perform. It's not T-test, it's not T-PES, it's just an evaluation form that we go through. Now, let's say, for example, there's a teacher, maybe they're, developing in some parts of their T-test. That's going to always start at the campus, right? Because that's going to be where the lead comes in and helps, or the IC or the department head or the assistant principals. Like those kind of get started with growing or helping that teacher in those domains move up from developing. Now, if it gets to a point where maybe there's a coaching plan, right, that starts at the campus level. Now, let's say we have a teacher that has, maybe not, they're still developing, they've been on a coaching plan, there's no progress. At that point, that's when HR would be notified. Does that make sense?
Yes, I was going to ask, when does HR get put in the chain of command? Because I get it. There's
Yeah.
definitely a chain of command. So whenever there is just to clarify, whenever there is a coaching plan put into play and they are not showing active progress and appropriate documentation has been added, that's when we would get you, Bridget, y'all's
Yeah,
office involved.
that's when a principal would be, hey, HR, this is kind of what our situation is going on.
Okay.
Maybe the teacher's not meeting the expectations, or, not reaching the students, or whatever the case is. And then we would kind of just kind of put a plan into action with that.
Okay. So then, okay, I was about to say, so then what do y'all do then? Like y'all just work with a principal to then kind of commingle
So
a
then we
plan?
start
Or-
having, we would just kind of work with them, make sure that there is not anything that maybe they could continue to pursue to grow that
Okay.
teacher. Now, let's say, this has been a teacher that's been on a coaching plan the whole entire year. There's no progress. Students aren't getting what they need. Then maybe we're starting to have conversations about not renewing a contract.
Okay. Okay.
That makes
So
sense.
yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Okay.
Now that wouldn't be a surprise to the teacher, because,
Right. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
teacher would.
So about what is, I guess from y'all's perspective, what would be an appropriate time length for me to sit there and say, okay, if I'm principal and I put, one of my eighth grade science teachers on a growth plan, because I don't see, progress, or if on my evaluations, I see, poor, behavior management, things like that. What is an appropriate time length for me to have them on a growth plan before I say, okay, now I need to call Danielle. Now I need to call
Yeah.
Bridget. What is the
I
appropriate time frame?
I would start having conversations with us in late fall, and then in like probably after Christmas break, maybe we come to your campus, visit you, look at the file that you have on the teacher, the coaching plan, the progress, or the progress that's not being made, and we would just start having discussions then. Because if we're not going to renew somebody's contract, that's going to impact somebody's life, and so we really want to be intentional on decision making, on time frames, on notifying, on all the things. We
Absolutely.
typically send out contract renewals.
Uh,
Is it March or April?
I want to, I mean, it's towards, yeah, I want to say it's right after spring break, I think is when I usually get mine.
We tried to we try to get after it, because
Okay.
we need to know,
Yeah,
you guys.
absolutely. So you would say probably like give them a half of a semester, get them like 2,
Yes.
3 weeks or 2
Yeah.
to 6 weeks worth of work. And then if
Yes.
we see, and then that's when, sorry, hold on, the light's going off. That's when
Okay,
I
no, it's
can,
okay.
that's when I come to you and say,
Yeah,
okay,
I would
hey,
let us know late fall, and then early spring we meet, and then we
Okay.
have a decision made before those contracts go out, right? So like
right.
probably before spring break, we kind of need to know like what decision's going to be made with
Okay.
HR and the admin.
Okay.
Because then when we get back from spring break, we're on it, right? We're sending those contracts. I almost want to see, when did we send them? Oh, look.
Okay. Mm,
And by all means, like, just for the record, we definitely want everybody to, grow and be
yeah,
successful. So we're going to do our best.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so last year we did it late April.
Okay.
Okay. So maybe we could probably push that time a little bit further out before, well, I definitely would say we need to meet before spring break though.
Okay, yeah,
So,
for sure. Well, and just to, again, doing that whole due process thing, I think that's what I'm
yeah,
most nervous about
absolutely.
with this kind of transition into me possibly doing principalship. It's like, oh gosh,
Yes.
this whole
There's
like
so much due
timeframes, due
process.
process, making sure
Yes.
everybody is notified. The chain of command thing is, um,
Yes.
it's
A
just
lot of
daunting.
times HR will get calls, and we're like, okay, well, did you talk to your assistant principal? Did you talk to your principal? Like there's a chain of command, like HR should always be like last. Does
That's
that
like
make
your
sense?
nuclear option, right? That's my
Yeah, yeah,
thought.
it's like yeah, you had to have a walk through the chain of command like
Yeah.
before you come to HR.
Absolutely. Okay. And then I guess, so last little bit, and I guess this is the last, and we kind of talked through it, would be the
Okay.
dismissal of personnel. So let's say y'all have done everything you could, we've done everything we could. The growth is just not there.
Did you say termination of what
The
did you
dismissal of personnel.
dismissal? Okay, yes.
What does that process look like? Um, yeah, what does that process?
So we do have to notify the individual that they will not receive a contract or won't return for the next school year. Now, before that, they've had a coaching plan, they've had conversations, they've had coaching that's happened. But if it's decided, I'm trying to get the exact verbiage. I'm looking in the handbook. Yes, we use the handbook a lot.
Absolutely. I feel like we should live or die
This
by that
is
thing.
this board policy, my
Mhm.
best friend. Okay. Um, we have to notify, so like employees have to notify the district 45 days before the first day of instruction if they're not going to come back. So you can sign your contract in April and decide, you know,
Yeah.
early June you're not going to come back, and that's fine. But if there is, I think it's 10 days we have to notify in writing, but I'm trying to find that in here. Okay, dismissal of non-contract and dismissal of contract. Okay, so it says that when a suspension, termination, or non-renewal occurs, the employee will be provided with a written notice. So we do have to give them a written notice.
Mhm.
And I want to say it's 10 days before the last day of instruction, but maybe that's in board policy, but I don't see it in here. Yeah, that's misconduct. Do you want me to look that up?
I mean, there just needs to be a there needs to be a written
Written
and a
notification.
given point of time. We don't have to get like
Yes.
super semantics on it.
Okay. I want to say it's like 10 days before the last day of instruction, but don't quote me on that.
No, that's okay. No, it just needs to be before the last
Yes.
day. Okay, so say if for instance, if y'all had me on a growth plan, I did not. So 10 days before the school year ends, they have y'all at least y'all
Yeah,
have to
but
provide to
yes.
me in writing.
Yeah, but I would definitely confidently say that we would give you way more notice
Oh
than
yeah.
that,
Oh yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Absolutely. I would think
'Cause
so as well.
yeah, we would.
Okay. And then I guess not to get too like in the messy weeds or anything of things, but for other than dismissal, other than just again, the growth isn't there, like you mentioned through there, like a misconduct or something like that. That 10-day or that time period of hey, we've given you this window, that doesn't exist, correct? I guess based maybe on issue
Yeah,
of,
no, because
I'm
I mean,
sorry,
it
I don't.
would totally, no, it would totally depend on, what the misconduct was. I mean, if it was something egregious, obviously there's not going to be a notice. We'd probably bring them in and
Okay.
terminate them. Once the separation is submitted through the district, though, they will get notifications through HR, but it's not like, hey, you're terminated or you're dismissed. It's like, hey, you no longer work for the school district. This is when your last check's going to be. This is when your last insurance coverage date's going to be.
Okay.
Does that make, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But yeah,
Um,
the misconduct thing, that's like definitely in the weeds. So and it's just case by case because
well, and it's, you can't,
misconduct, a huge
yeah,
scale of things that could happen.
Yeah, you can't put definite lines on certain things like that because
Right.
it's all varying. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but major thing is whenever that is submitted, is that something that a principal would submit? So say if I figure out and I've done my due diligence, I've done my investigative work to figure out that say I have, like I had done something, okay? Or
Yeah.
a teacher I have, do I submit to you guys then hey, I request for termination, just like I do a request for hiring? Do I do a, hey, we have to, with all of that, or do y'all come to me?
So you know that, so you know when I said that we would probably do like a campus visit with you to kind of
Yes.
review that folder.
Okay.
So then I think during that conversation, if it's not just, it would probably be decided within that conversation. If not, if it was a later date,
Okay.
it'd probably be more like a verbal conversation between the principal and HR.
Okay. Okay.
But then if we're going to notify the employee, it's likely that principals are going to say, hey, HR, can you send me a template of us not renewing the contract? Because,
Okay.
you know, one important piece, like when you become an AP or a principal, documentation, right? So,
Oh my gosh, yes.
yeah. So, you're definitely going to want to document that, like you had those, and you do have that documentation, right? Because you have the coaching plan,
Mhm.
you have the memo of when you met with them, you have the progress, or you know, not the progress, and so you're going to have all of that documentation, so that whenever somebody's like, "Why aren't y'all renewing my contract?" Well, because this you're not being effective in the classroom, the students aren't getting what they need, right? Kind of thing.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's not to end on kind of a crummy note, but
I know.
I think those were all the
I
questions I had, not to end on like a
know.
strange one, but yeah, no, again, I appreciate you so much,
Yeah,
Danielle.
of
Thank you. Thank you.
course. Yeah. Hopefully I was help. And so yeah, best of luck to you. And so
Thanks.
yeah, hopefully
I
you'll be on the
appreciate it.
admin side soon.
Yes, ma'am. Hopefully so. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.